All right, let's talk about the Houston Texans, who ended up without a first-round pick. They had a lot of trades downs. Obviously their GM comes from kind of the Patriots GM tree, I suppose you could say, which is very much built around the let's try to get a lot of picks, a lot of darts at the dartboard, and some of these picks I really like. Some of these picks I think are really strong. Some of these I'm not crazy about, but we can get into it. Someone like we'll start off with Kamari Lassiter, who is someone that not a fast corner, just not a fast corner at all. There was, it was weird where they had a 40 time. It was only on his pro day, but there was a range from a 4.51 to a 4.63, which okay, that's a pretty big range there. A lot of people disagreed with it. And yet, despite that, and I'm someone who really harps on speed when it comes to corner, just logically speaking, gives you more margin for error, right? If you're a fast corner, if you get a little out of position, you can come back. If you're a slow corner, you get a little out of position, you're screwed. But he's someone who does do a pretty good job at staying in position pretty frequently. So you're worried that you get out of position more frequently in the NFL, it could be bad. But he has good hands. He's a good technical player, also on the smaller side at 180 pounds, 6 feet tall. But there's things to like about him. I honestly, at pick 42, I think it's a fine selection. He's projected to go 54th. That's what the chart you see next to me is. Number to the left is when the player was drafted. Next number over when they were projected to be drafted, and then name and position. So this is a fine selection here. Not my favorite prospect, but a prospect who I think is pretty pretty quality player nonetheless. Then we move on to Blake Fisher, the offensive lineman out of Notre Dame, who, not my favorite prospect. Doesn't have the best analytics, which is something I very much harp on when it comes to offensive linemen, guys who have good analytics. Tend to good things like being able to your pass block win rate and things like that. Those are tend to translate well to the next level. He is someone who not bad at that, but just not what you typically want for an NFL ready player. Projected to go 78th. That feels about right to me. They decided to take him at 59. Now, here's why I'm not going to crush it necessarily, because he does have really good power, and the power will work. He needs to get, he needs to basically just get a lot smoother at some of these things and get to his spots quicker, which you can coach up potentially, and I think that's why they draft him here. They feel they feel as though they can in fact coach him up to do those things, and they might be right. But on paper it doesn't look great. That doesn't mean it's not going to be great though. Then we have Calen Bullock, the next guy, who is just 20 years old. So you're getting a young guy, safety out of USC. And I like this player. Really good range. What's going to be concerning is 6'3", 190. So is that going to be an issue? Definitely on the skinny side. Definitely isn't someone that's going to be making a lot of tackles. Not a box safety. He is a free safety, fully, but projected to go 87th, goes here at 78. He is someone that's going to have to be used in a very specific way. He is not someone you use to be a, he can do it all. I don't think that's what they're drafting him for. No, I think they want him to be someone who could just be a cover safety. He should be able to do that for Houston. So, I don't know. This feels like a pretty solid pick for me. And then we have tight end Cade Stover. Is it Stover or Stuver? I'm going to assume Stover. Name pronunciations are hard. I try my best here. Tight end out of Ohio State, who had his best year last season, but has had quality years prior. Really, in 2022, he had a quality year as well. I think it's fair to be concerned about his blocking. I don't know if his blocking is great, but you know what? There's a lot of value in a good receiving tight end, and he certainly can be a really good receiving tight end at times. So pick 123, projected to go 99th. That's pretty good value. I like this selection, and that's the benefit of having a good, to have 9 picks. The benefit of having a decent amount of picks is you can, even if I don't love every single selection, some of these are going to hit, right? Some of these are going to work out, and you can get contributors on cheap without having to spend too much money. That's also always very, very helpful. So definitely good stuff there. Jamal Hill is the next selection, which you see Consensus Big Board disagrees. Consensus Big Board had him at 425. Now he went 188. There was like a 50 spot jump in between that pick and the most recent pick. So you're at the point where you can kind of take guys that you like. People mostly viewed him as like, is he a special teamer? I think at 188, you're not just drafting him to be a special teamer, especially when you have, 4 other picks, where if you really want a special teamer to be drafted, you can do that later. Kind of an undersized linebacker at 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, and also would make some mental mistakes on top of it, but would make some splash plays. I think he's someone that will play good special teams, and they're hoping they can coach up to be more than just a depth piece. I think that's what they're hoping, and if they can't get the coaching up part done, well, you got a good special teamer. At least you didn't just light a pick on fire, even if it's not what you would maybe want to spend that draft pick on. So we'll see how that works out. But that's what they did there. Then we have Jawhar Jordan, who's a unique player. So 21-year-old running back. So I mean, listen. We've seen Todd Gurley. I think that's when his career went off a cliff in the NFL. Was like a 24, which that was a unique circumstance, but still, he's an older player. He's also a smaller player, 5'10", 180 pounds. But despite that, was very explosive, very athletic, was able to, really show some flashes. And again, could he be a special teams guy? You do wonder if he's going to have to, show some stuff special teams wise to get a roster spot, perhaps. But maybe he can just be a good enough runner, an effective enough runner to get his roster spot that way. We'll see. We then have Solomon Byrd. Solomon Byrd is the next selection here. Again, I actually kind of like this pick a little bit. So he's someone who his pass rush numbers are actually pretty good. So even though he was projected to not be drafted, you got pick 238. Like, most guys that a lot of guys you're selecting aren't projected to be drafted at this point. I don't know. The numbers seem pretty decent. Like, I'm a little surprised people are as low on him as they are. Again, really a raw player, but I don't know, had decent analytics. Has room for improvement. I think that for pick 238, why not take a chance on this? It makes sense to me. I haven't done a full deep dive into his game. Maybe if I see it, I'll disagree with it more. But from what I've seen, it makes sense to me. And then we have a couple players that I wrote the wrong position on. I'm not sure why. Both these next two guys, the position is wrong. So first we have Marcus Harris, who is actually a interior defensive lineman out of Auburn, not a tight end. So my bad there. But he's another guy who, again, for a guy who's getting drafted at 247, he was Pro Football Focus's 26th highest graded interior defensive lineman last year. That's good. That's very solid. The pass rush just was non-existent, but his run defense grade was actually what projects pretty well to be a good NFL player. I think, again, I haven't done a deep dive into his game, but I think just looking at the page and reading about him, he's probably going to be a pretty good player for them. So, again, teams will spend $10 million on bad players just because they're big at the interior defensive line. People will spend $15 million on good run stuffing interior defensive linemen. Getting a guy at pick 247 feels like a bit of a steal for me here. Finally, we have Ladarius Henderson, who is another player who is not a linebacker. He is a guard who doesn't have great athleticism and also doesn't have incredible production, but there are some traits that people like about him, so I guess that's why he's going here. Not someone who, again, I've done an incredible deep dive on, so much so that I put the wrong position next to him. My bad there. Not sure. I think I was looking at the wrong thing when I entered those last two in. My bad there. But still someone who should be an interesting player. I'm not expecting a ton, but probably just a depth piece from him. So yeah, that is the draft. Again, didn't love every selection, but you get enough picks. Some of these are going to hit. I do think some of these picks are going to hit. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.